Welcome to Music and Medicine. Welcome to Music and Medicine. Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. I'm excited and ecstatic to be joined by international video producer Lewter. I mean, he is doing some amazing things and have just come up through the game so fast, so meteoric, that we just had to sort of really take some time with him and go back to where he began and talk about how you got inspired to even go into this to begin with. This is an intense field.
Thank you for the introduction. So I'm from New York City, Brooklyn to be exact, and so our local neighborhood hero was Jay-Z. And it was like just a summer day, and all the kids were, you know, in New York City, we get to our leash, if you say, of where we can go kind of like varies. So we were like somewhere, probably like, I would say like a half a mile, probably like, yeah, I would say like a half a mile away. And we heard that Jay-Z was shooting a music video in Brooklyn. So obviously, you know, the kids is just like, you know, so we run and it's just, exactly, you know, so we just start running. And if you know one of those film montages and they use this, you know, across the bridge and then under the train tracks and then, you know, the trees and, you know, so we just all running back. And it's just one of those days I'll forget, I will never forget. And all the kids were asking, hey, can I be a part of it, you know? So, you know, the kids that were in it, you know, some of the B-roll shots, like I know, I probably know, I would say a good 35–40% of the cast in that.
Right. Was it Hard Knock Life by any chance?
It was Hard Knock Life,
sure.
yes,
Okay,
it was Hard Knock Life. And so instead of asking to be in it, I asked to help out. And they were like, yeah, so technically like that was like my first PA job. They gave me like a walkie-talkie and it was just like it was just an amazing experience, you know, sweeping the floor and, you know, being able to go, just to be able to be there and to go up to like the catering truck and to get an egg sandwich and, you know, and that literally stayed with me.
Sure. And we should say what a PA is and the fact that it's not a paid position, because a lot of people hear these big titles.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, that's not even call myself a PA. Then I was like,
the assistant.
I was the kid who came in / intern for the day. You know, you know,
Friday.
Because you know, production assistants should get paid. But yeah, I was probably like 11, 12 years old. Yeah,
so walkie-talkie,
like
that wasn't out of a movie.
Yeah, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't a paid position. It definitely was that indelible moment that that stuck with me, that led me to this point right here.
Right, and from there you go to film school, and was that all part of that inspiration, or there were some other key moments also? Actually, before going to film school, I went to the university for urban arts, you know, so I knew I wanted to be, you know, within the art field. I think I just wanted to just a new take on artists, you know, and who were, you know, some of my ancestral artists, you know, people who've done some amazing things. So when I went to school, I went for urban arts, you know, and then after I would say like my first, second semester, I was like, I want to be a director, what am I doing? You know what I mean? So I was like, hey Ma, I know I just got all A's and B's in school, but like, I kind of want to go to film school. So it's like, you know, it's trying to just figure out like, we just invested all this money or, you know, this or this time or whatever it was. But so I left that winter break, I think it was like in December, and then I enrolled in the New York Film Academy that March, and I went on to do their filmmaking program. Sure. And who were some of your inspirations in terms of whether it be film or music?
Just in general, I honestly would say like the Hugh brothers, and you know some of those older, you know, classic films. But to be honest, like I didn't go to school, film school for like music videos or anything. I really went to for like documentary purposes, because I have a voice and I wanted to use it via film. I think music videos, you know, it came and I was good at it, and it just be like, and then it's just like, and then it's like 10 years, and it's like, what am I still doing here? And then it's like, so yeah, with that. But I went to school to do documentaries, knowing that I would do films, and music videos was just, I was just, the 19, 20-year-old guy, why not do music? I listen to music every day. Like, why not be able to work with some of the artists that I listen to? But I did go to school to make documentaries about the plight of, of the experience of the skin.
Sure, no, that's so important. Who are some of those first artists that you work with? What was that first big break where you're like, wow, I don't actually believe that now no longer am I assistant for the day?
Okay.
But I'm actually, I am the director, at least for this project.
Director. Okay, cool. So I definitely have like two different careers, one as a director and one as a producer EP. As it relates to like directing and stuff, my directing career was earlier on. So, when I don't think it was actually an artist who, when I looked up, like, oh my God, it can't be. I think it was more so like the paycheck. You know what I mean? Right. I think, because, I never really wanted to be the videographer, the guy who's gonna be hyped because I'm in the room with the artist, but I'm not getting paid. And like, I never wanted to be that guy, So for me, I think it was when I was like, okay, cool. When I was doing like contractual work with like agency who had contracts with like Diesel and Nike, did some Red Bull stuff, and then my production company, my first production company, Light Up Film, probably like 21, getting like working with like the construction company Cat and stuff like that. So for me, it was like, oh my God, like I'm actually doing something. So it wasn't technically an artist, but to say an artist, I've always been fortunate to have worked with, I guess, the industry's A and B kind of artists. So even when I was assistant to director, we were working with, doing a lot of gospel stuff and working with like Hezekiah Walker, Rashawn Mitchell, the Clark sisters. Me being able to direct the video for Myron Butler, so, and, that was one of, the earlier projects. And then, and then moving into London, and then working, and then landing a project for like the Roy's Family nonprofit organization, Centerpoint, and we did like this remake of Terry McMillan's, Streets of London, if I remember the song correctly, and the goal was to raise like £500,000 for homeless youth, and then and then the journey just continues, and it just has been amazing. To getting called like, hey, we need you to fly down to Australia to work on this project with Kanye West, and then actually, going to London, I went to London because I wanted to be international before I turned 25.
Right, that's what I wanted to find out. Like, what had you, because that wound up being such a strategic move.
Yes, it was a strategic move because I wanted to be international before I turned 25, and it was just something, and like I said, I'm like, just a little black kid from New York City, the urban community, and it's just like, hey, Ma, like, I'm gonna move to London, and it's like, it's always one of those like, okay, you know what I mean? Don't necessarily like deter my dreams or speak down on it. It's just like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, and Thanksgiving, I forgot the year. I was like, hey guys, I'm here to eat dinner, but I'm like leaving. My flight is gone. But yeah, it has been a remarkable journey.
Right. So let's talk about the agency that you connected with there, and then how this relationship evolved, where you were able to do some of the film footage for, I believe it was Niggas in Paris.
Yeah. So yeah, some of the footage ended up in the Niggas in Paris. It wasn't. We just had a bunch of this B-roll, and it just so happens to be. We didn't know it was gonna be when we were shooting the film, shooting the footage. But yeah, so I guess we have to go to New York City. We have to go back to New York City before we get to London. So one of my good friends, who've become like a brother of mine now, Lewter, we happened to have been in a camera store doing some rentals at the same time. He was in front of me, I was in back of him, and I think we were like the last customers in the store. And for whatever the case may be, I couldn't get my insurance portal. I was working a parent company's insurance portal, and I couldn't figure out where was the cert. It was at the home page, but I was looking at the wrong, and I was like, fuck, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's like 5 minutes into this closing, it's like, he's like, use my insurance, you know what I mean? Just get it, you know what I mean? So he lets me use insurance, he sparked up a conversation. He was actually in town doing some video work for his company, Lewter Media, in New York City, and he was like, hey, do you have anybody who can do like BTS or something? Paying it forward, you just helped me out. I just graduated film school. I got like a Canon 1DX, I'm hype about, and I'm like, okay, cool, I do it. And then from there, we all went out, and it was just brotherhood from there. A few months later, I began to plant the seed about wanting to come to New York City, and I knew that he could have been like that linchpin into it. So so when I went there, I immediately began, working.
Right. And then what was that first sort of project when you did kind of cross overseas that was really like so amazing for you? You were just...
I mean, to be honest, just to be 24 years old going to London, if I was going to do the new person with $500, that's exciting. You know what I mean? It's all exciting. But his company was already established by the time I came, so we were already working with, he was already working with London's biggest stars. So I just came into the fold, and so it was just amazing to come to London and work at the top level. So working with artists from, One Direction to Zayn Malik to Ali Mars to, just a host of European talent, especially the talent that came off of like the UK X Factor and all that. We were able to, like Alexander Burke, and there were just so many people that we were able to actually work with. And me being part of the company, it was, I had a little part in just in a little bit of everything on the production admin side as well. But yeah, obviously the creative is taken care of by the director and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think one of the projects that I was like, oh my God, whoa, like was the Kanye West. I flew to Australia. I would say like a couple days before my 25th birthday. And so talk about, being international before 25, but like not only not only did I go to London, but now I'm in Australia producing for Kanye West, one of the world's biggest, stars, global stars now. And that's when it like hit me. And that's when I was like, okay, like whatever you're doing it right, And I think that's when it hit me. When I was 25, I looked up and I was in Australia producing for Kanye West.
Right. And what did that project involve for you? And like you said, I know it was only a small part. I believe it was some of the fashion stuff that was used in some of those shots.
Yeah, so it was a documentary that may come out, may not come out. There were just some rights sold to like some footage that happened 20 years ago, you know what I mean? So hopefully, the world gets to see the footage that we shot because it's amazing. But yeah, some of the footage ended up being in the Niggas in Paris music video.
Right. And then now let's talk about sort of transitioning back and sort of how you decide, okay, I have enjoyed it here, but I've got work to do back in the States, my family's here. What sort of shaped that decision and had you transition?
The goal was always to come back, to go back, and that is still the goal, to go back. But I definitely wanted to begin to plant seeds in another place. So I wanted to come back to New York City and take, and just take all this international experience and then just like, I guess, mold it into, this international producer, you know what I mean? So when I came to LA, I strategically separated myself by saying, no, I'm an international producer. You're a producer? No, I'm an international music video producer, do international, you know what I mean? And it wasn't about an ego thing, it was just about literally separating myself from the influx of producers and directors that comes in every day. It was like, oh no, no, you can ship me off to Australia and I'll get it done. Or you can come into America and I know the language of the international language, I'll be able to handle it. So yeah, so 90% of my work when I got to LA, I would say it was from my international forest that I planted, years ago.
Sure. And then how does one sort of make that transition on the reel, like breaking it down? Because think a lot of times when people are watching the show, they're trying to understand, I mean, these are amazing opportunities, and like you said, it was just for chance that you were able to run into Ludi in the store and stuff like that, but that certainly doesn't happen every day. Sitting and putting a production company together in LA with all the competition that's out here, just with a branding idea, which is good, how did that actually translate into, okay, this first contract that we locked down, and this is a pretty big star, and this is a really good project to do, considering I just arrived essentially a few months ago. Or maybe
that's actually a good question, because it goes back into my connections in London. So when I first got out here, I came out here, it's a longer story, but I came out here, and I was about to, oh man, I feel like I need to go into the story because it's like, it's just the context of it is just so. All right, so when I got back from London, I just had this amazing year. I got back from London, and I just wanted to keep I would say my oomph up, you know what I mean? So, you get back to New York City, and all your friends are like, oh, work with me, help me, with this, and it's like, it's $100, and it's like, boom, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't, like, come on.
Don't tell me I'm not nobody. You gotta pay me.
But there's a balance of saying no, and I think my balance was way off, so no's began to, for no calls, be turned into no calls. So it went from like, I did some amazing stuff that year, but as a grown man, you need to work consistently. So, the beginning of the year, it's like, okay, cool, the industry is slow, we'll pick back up. Right. I end up getting a call from my boy Daps, and he's like, yo, I need you to come help me put together a photo shoot for Pusha T's album cover or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool, that's dope. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're picking up. Right. A few months pass, and I'm like, well, like, what's up? So. That same year, London calls me again and was like, hey, we need you to put something together for Missy Elliott. Okay, cool. And okay, you see, like,
it's coming.
It's coming, you know what I mean?
I got contacts,
it's coming. But then, like, the summer comes and it's like, nothing is, like, really solid, and, you $5 in there, hey, let me get $5, I won't pay you back. Let me,
I'll pay you
on Tuesday, boom, boom, boom. And then like you just $5 yourself out with everybody, moms. I have 6, 7 brothers and sisters, so I can $5, a lot, you know what I mean? I can spread that out. But you wake up like, damn, you $5 everyone to death. So then there's a project that comes for Gary Barlow, another international project. You know what I mean? Hence, separating myself as an international producer, all the projects that year were all international projects or with international directors. And it was like $100,000. Now I'm 26 and I'm like, oh my God, like I have all the money to pay everybody back. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. Like, let me knock out this project. I'm going to do this. And like, broke people know broke people. You know what I mean? Like, broke people know broke people. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yo, let me get you a job. You know what I mean? Like, my cousin a caterer. You know what I mean? My boy could pick up something, so he could PA now. Like, my girl does makeup, so she can, so
you want to help the
I'm helping everybody because, like,
helped you get
help
there.
me, right? I'll look into the camera. I did that and literally lost like $40,000 worth of equipment. Like 40,000 because no one knew protocol. Right. No one knew. Everyone says rap. Everyone starts walking away. No one knows that. Okay, we have to like break down and we have to boom, boom, boom. And it was just like, so I'm thinking like, oh my God, like this was, like I didn't work this whole year. This was, but what it really was, it was just that last learning curve that I needed. I needed to just like release. You know what I mean? Just release. And I needed that learning curve to grow. Because fast forward, that was the last project of the year. That's in October. So now it's Thanksgiving. No one's really working like that. So it's now my birthday. So I pray, right? And I'm like, God, like I've had an amazing career. Like, let me know if I need to reset. Let me know if, let me know if I need to get a job for a couple years to figure it out. Like, I pray on a Saturday. That Monday, I get a letter from New York City Transit Authority, like, hey, we offer you a full-time job and all that stuff. I'm like, thank you, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, perfect, you know.
And that would have been doing what? Because once you put it out there that you weren't shooting like some $100,000 video for them.
It wasn't, no. It definitely wasn't for no $100,000 video for them. It was to be like a token booth operator,
Right,
you know.
sure, yes.
I'm from New York City.
Speak to the modesty. We're trying to get real.
I'm from New York City. My mom is always like, I know you want to be an artist, you know, but always have like some backup plans and all that stuff. So, you know, I took a test, you know, I took a couple tests, city tests, like, hey, Ma, here's my confirmation number.
Right.
Like, I took some tests, you know. You know, fast forward like 5 years later, they call me the weekend of the prayer that I said to God, right? So that Saturday I prayed, that Monday I get a letter offering me a full-time job.
Right.
That Wednesday I get interviewed, that Friday I'm hired.
Right.
You know, and it's like, oh, like
Really
dope,
fast.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like real fast. And then I get a call from this director, Ryan. He's like, yo, I need you to put this Wiz Khalifa project together. And I'm like, yeah, God, that's what I was talking about.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like, God, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
Right.
so obviously, you know, God's giving me this choice. God is like, well, listen, like, you prayed for stability. You
Right.
prayed for, this is what you prayed for. Like, this is what you want, you
Right.
know? So now, mind you, I've been broke the whole year.
Right.
The money that I would have made from Gary Barlow to take me into like my birthday, which is January,
Right.
I've lost all of that.
Right.
So I have a decision to make. I have a decision to make to say, okay, cool. Do I start training? You know, so about 3 weeks later, it's around my birthday. I'll get a paycheck,
Right.
and you know,
Right. MTAs. Very
MTAs, boom, boom,
by
boom.
schedule. Right.
I'll get a paycheck. My birthday's January 27th. I'll be, you know what I mean? It'd
Sure.
be kind of
Right.
cool.
Right.
If I take this project, I gotta push training.
Exactly.
I won't get paid until March.
Right, sure.
So
It's
now,
on the back end.
yeah. So now we're still in December. So just forward thinking a payment not until March is a
Scary, right? Especially in a place like New York.
Yeah, like, and you live in New York.
You can't sit
Easy-
in your car.
Exactly,
Oh,
right? So, you know, I take the project for Wiz Khalifa. Obviously,
just on the
right?
hope. Right.
Just on the hope, right?
For sure.
The project don't come through. The project don't come through. And it was just a blow. And I'm like, and I have my camera, my Canon 1DX, and I'm broke. I've been broke the whole year. I've been, you know, have had like 3 jobs that, you know, luckily when I do get paid, I can make something stretch, you know?
Sure.
So, but this last job I didn't get paid. I actually lost all the money to pay all these the insurance fees. I think I had like 4 insurance and policies, and I think they were like $2,500 a piece. So there was like $10,000 insurance to cover
Right.
all of this, right? So I have my camera. I pawned my camera. I pawned my camera, my baby.
Right,
You know what I mean?
that's a child,
Like my baby. Like I pawned my camera. So I can just like go to New York. I'm gonna take this job. Now I'm gonna take this job.
Right.
Let me just get my last hurrah out. Let me get my whole,
Right.
you know, let me.
Exactly. I did it.
I did it. You know what I mean? So I go to New York City. I'm sorry. I go to the pawn place. I think they only gave me like $450, maybe
And it was worth about
$500 for a $6,000 camera. But I knew that I was gonna come back and pay for it when I get my first paycheck and all that. I go to LA, spend all my money because
Oh, wow.
like
You're young.
yeah, I go spend all
You
my
have a 9 to
money.
5,
I'm gonna go back home and start working, whatever. So spend all my money. Then I'm like, okay, cool. I have this one more day to reset before I need to go to work. So I extend my flight. I extend my flight. Okay, boom.
Which is another $50.
Which is another $75, and it's like, damn, like I don't even got that, right? So the morning I was supposed to start work, I called in and I resigned.
Wow.
And I said, I'm staying in LA, I'm gonna make it work. And I asked one of my friends, actually a couple of my friends, they are stylists, and asked them, can I stay with them? I think for like 3 months, right? I was like, okay, cool. So the longer story is that we ended up working for a company who brought us on to do their marketing PR. Whatever the case may be, that didn't work out. But to just fast forward, right? So we terminate the contract with them. So it's a Thursday, right? So this Thursday, it's like the 3 months. I'm supposed to be moving out the apartment.
Time's up.
Time's up for the 3 months. I just resigned from this job that Thursday. Now I start moving into this apartment. I end up getting scammed. And I'm like, wow, I'm from New York City.
Right. You shouldn't hustle.
How do I get scammed? I'm from New York City. And for whatever the case may be, I get scammed. And I'm like, yo, I just need like a couple more days or whatever the case may be. But he had his brother coming in, so it messed up some timing or whatever. So I just take, you know, the Craigslist apartment or whatever the case may be, try to figure it out. But Daps, the guy who hit me up, that for that photo shoot that year, hit me up when I was in church that Sunday, right? So I was in church. So now, mind you, I would have not worked anyway. I would have worked Friday. I would have not worked that Saturday and Sunday. So technically, I was jobless for one day. Daps hit me. I was like, yo, I need you to produce this music video for me for this international band, whatever. So that was actually my first, you know what I mean? That was my first job as a producer in LA, and it was just from a call while I'm praying in church about what will be my next step, because I didn't send an email to nobody. I didn't have my resume all done. I didn't have my website and my real polished, you know, to just go and start working. It was my relationships from when I went to London. So I started working, and then that year I went on to have done, like, I would say like 35 music videos for a bunch of like, I would say C's, you know. I don't want to say no names now that I said C's.
Well, be careful. Right. But I do think, I mean, was that the same year you did Big Sean's video?
That was the second year.
That was second year. Right. So that's when you started.
Yeah. So
right. We won't say names. Okay.
Yeah, we won't say names. Yeah, but like, you know, I did some things for like. That year, I'm not gonna say no names because they do have some sort of like names. But that year, and then I was like, okay, cool. Like, there was a bunch of just international stuff, and then it wasn't until I got the first. It wasn't until I actually prayed. It's just so crazy how powerful prayer is. I was like, you know, I have all these international acts, you know what I mean? But I don't really have any hip hop acts. Right. So I was like, you know, I need to transition and do some hip hop stuff, you know, and I want to do some hip hop stuff. So the first real hip hop project that I got was Low Life for Future and The Weeknd. And I was like, well, if it's going to be a hip hop project, it's going to be that project, yeah. Sure. But that project went on, you know, then I worked with, you know, from DJ Khaled to Rick Ross to Big Sean, to just like, you know, to Sage the Gemini, to just a host of other acts. And then I went on to formally create the Purple Score Agency.
Right. Right. So, and then one other thing we want to cover just in terms of this background piece is, when you're thinking about a project and obviously you get the contract and things like that, how do you sort of come up with that mindset behind some of what you might bring to the table that's unique? Because I think certainly artists are going to work with different producers and things like that, but it seems like there may be a lot of pressure on you to try to figure out, okay, am I really going with what the artist's direction is, sort of how I guide them, how I sort of maybe deal with their ego or not, and just how does that process look when you get a project? Maybe if we pick one of the ones as an example that you could speak to, that here's one where I really had to sort of guide the project and I kind of use my vision or my thoughts and kind of shared it with the artist.
Being fortunate to be part of like the inception, the management, and the delivery, I would say there is a thread that I bring onto every project. But yeah, I think one is really just checking your ego at the door. I know that I'm here as I'm hired. You know what I mean? So it's really just checking your ego at the door and just figuring out, you know, what is being sold. You know what I mean? Because every artist is a brand, you know, and every artist is being sold to somebody. So we're just trying to figure out exactly what that brand is trying to communicate, and then working with all the creatives, you know, into just bringing that to life. You know, one of the things that I do is I risk manage, of course, and you know, expectations and all that good stuff. But you know, it's just introducing new ideas that keeps the same integrity of your overall idea. You know, so it's not necessarily saying no, we can't do that. It's like, hey, you know, let's think about it this way. You know, whether it's because of budget reasons, whether it's because of safety reasons. But yeah, I think it's just, you know, massaging, you know, these different creatives or different ideas into like what everyone envisioned it to be. So not to speak on any particular one, but yeah, I think every production has its challenges, and everyone has its formula, and it's just being open and and one of my best qualities I would love to say about myself is being able to put together a team. And then within that is, leaning into your team's experience for these solutions, right. And just making sure everyone is heard and acknowledged.
Sure. What's if you can speak to it, one of your favorite projects that you got to take part in?
You want to know what? I don't have a favorite just because I've been blessed to have done such to portray Black people in just so amazing lights, but I would say a handful would be the Khalid, Young, Dumb, and Broke. One, because we were able to work with Mr. Belding, Rachel Lee Cook, the Black comedian guy, Wayne Brady. Right. And and just a host of beautiful upcoming creatives, and Black people alike. So that's probably my favorite one that I still look at. But they all have their own place.
Sure. Clearly, religion is really important to you. It seems like you grew up in the church, and I know also your health. You did something I thought was amazing, which is to go and get a checkup after quarantine. And so, what sort of inspired you to do that? Because so often we always feel like, gosh, if the young people would take their health more seriously. What was your inspiration there?
I mean, to be honest, what sparked it was I didn't realize I didn't know my blood type. Okay. I was like, I'm 34 years old. How you don't know your blood type? So that kind of what sparked it. But then it was like. Just realizing, some of the habits that was developed in quarantine, whether it's, eating out or just eating the worst foods possible, just because of trying to survive and make sure your money don't run out, whatever the case may be. So I knew I just wanted to get a full profile of my health, no matter how much it costs. But luckily, obviously, insurance covers the bulk of it. So get insurance, guys. Right. But yeah, that was the reason. It was because the idea of not knowing my blood type was kind of bothered me, and knowing that I wanted to just understand my body and just make sure after quarantine, eating baked cookies with ice cream, you know what I mean? You just everything starts taking a toll, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to make sure that I can be preemptive and with my health and not wait.
Right, and you found that your cholesterol was high, and then it sort of inspired you to even make some more changes.
Yeah,
what were those?
Luckily it wasn't high. It was it was medium high, I guess. He didn't say it. It was on its way to being high. So obviously, I've always had a gym membership, so using that more actively and just making sure that that my diet is in line with my future. Limiting the meats, especially the red meats. Never did pork or anything like that. But I do love some French fries and some fried chicken, and you know what I mean? The chicken sandwich from. I really think it was a chicken sandwich from fucking Chick-fil-A that really did it.
The beginning of the end.
That was the beginning of the end. But no. It was something that I'm glad that I did.
And then sort of now, in terms of some of the things that you may do health-wise, what types of things do you find yourself doing to sort of stay fit, be ready for your day, and kind of have your mindset right?
So obviously it includes working out, but also, just making sure that the foods that I intake, I love doing this, this portobello mushroom, spinach, red onion with amino acid medley, with some oatmeal and maybe a piece of wheat toast, and just making sure that the food that I put in my body is of life, So a bunch of fruits and veggies, and limit the meat. I did practice veganism, so moving my diet back in that direction.
Sure, and then just inspiration for younger people, even though you're very young yourself. Somebody coming up in the game that doesn't have that camera yet. I mean, and it was just so poignant hearing about having to part with that at such a young age. What's some inspiration you give to somebody who not only trying to figure out how to find their way forward, but also just get started?
I would say if you need to part with the camera, part with it, just because parting with the camera got me here. So don't hold on to like the material things. Release things. Be able to just like float. But I would say one of the things that I've been able to do, and I guess why I've been able to do these things was because I just never gave up. Just never gave up. And two, I just kept my head down and worked. You know, I absorb what I need to absorb, and I discard what I need to discard. But yeah, when it's time to work, I'm there to work, and I always deliver. And that's a personal mantra that I live by. And this year I probably deliver something not on time, but for the most part, I deliver on time. Yeah.
Right. So. What brings you happiness, and what sort of makes you stay positive in the midst of everything, good and bad, that you have to deal with?
It's so funny because, I think right now I'm coming into like a new space of happiness. I think COVID, I think with everybody, I think, getting lazy, but within the laziness, just lost a sense of direction and all that good stuff. So, I think it's giving yourself grace to go through emotions because it's not always here, So, so within that, allowing myself to just go through my emotions and to go through and to acknowledge how I feel. And if I need to say sorry to myself, I do. But ultimately, being able to do what I love, and wake up and basically inspire, that makes me happy.
Sure. I know you're working with your agency, Purple Squirrel Agency. What kinds of things are coming down the pike, or you guys looking forward to working with or delivering?
Nice. Well, yeah, so Purple Squirrel Agency, it's a boutique creative agency. Just a little backstory. Purple Squirrel means the perfect candidate. It's a human resource term. So just imagine, you've been looking for an assistant for 8 months, and you just have not found anyone qualified, and your cousin's baby daddy has a partner, nephew who just
our family too well now.
who just have a nephew who just graduated or whatever, and his resume comes across your desk, and it's like you didn't have no vantage points to him, but he comes like by definition he's your purple squirrel. So I created the agency just to house IPs, but yeah, so right now I'm finishing up collaborating with talent, and yeah, I think right now it's just figuring out what visuals look like post-COVID and that workflow. But yeah, and on the flip side of that, we do have some screenwriting that's being done and some deals for a potential movie development to be done. So I'm excited about that as well.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you're definitely a wealth of inspiration, and definitely we love hearing you talk about how much this comes from your heart. And it seems like church is in the family too, and really important, because I think that you evoke this positivity, and I like the confidence that you bring to projects. So, we heard it from you. Definitely take your health seriously. Yes. Go get that checkup. Take the fact that you might have gotten COVID 10 or 20 or 30 by a little bit of laziness or spending too much time doing the binge weekend VH1 type of thing. So, or I guess they call it today, they call it Netflix. Sorry, it goes way back. And certainly look at your health seriously in terms of being your greatest asset, whether it be mentally, spiritually, and then definitely in terms of nutritionally. So I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. We love having you guys join us, and again, continue to take medicine and music seriously, which we certainly do. And for us, it seems like some of the music and videos you've produced have been our medicine. So thanks again.
No problem.
We appreciate
Thank you.
it. Sure.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
No problem.